I have been an entrepreneur in some capacity for over 10 years now. And when I tell you that I feel like I've ran every type of business there is to run, I really, really have. From product-based businesses to digital products to services to content creation to a physical retail store to all kinds of things in between. I feel like I've kind of done it all. And boy, oh boy, have I learned some lessons along the way. Like, I wish I would have known half of what I know now when I was first starting, because the path would not have been quite so rocky. So that's my goal with this video, is to kind of bring you behind the scenes and give you some lessons that I have learned in my 10 years of entrepreneurship that will hopefully help you not make the same mistakes or shortcut a path or something along those lines. Because one of my biggest regrets is not doing a lot of these things quicker, so I grew quicker, so I would get to the point where I'm at now quicker. But also, like, it's a journey. So let's just talk about these lessons, because they're really good. So I rarely ever wear the same shirt in back-to-back videos, but my lapel mic is sitting pretty and I just didn't want to change it, I was like, you know what? It's not worth the effort. It's just not. You're getting me in the same black workout shirt that I was in last time, and that is okay. If you're new here, hi, howdy, hey, what is up? My name is Jessica Stansberry, and I am pumped that you are here. If you don't know my entrepreneurship story, I'll kind of run that down in like a really quick version of it, because I feel like you kind of need to know where I've been to understand these lessons. And make sure you stick around until the end, because the last two lessons I have to share with you are probably the biggest lessons and the ones that I think will be most impactful for most people. Okay, so make sure you stick around. Okay, quick synopsis of my business journey. So I'm actually going to start when I became a full-time entrepreneur, or I wasn't working a corporate job in conjunction with owning a business, but I actually ran a couple of businesses before quitting my corporate job on the side. I actually did a few side hustles. I had a photography business, I did graphic design, I did a little bit of like marketing help, that kind of thing. But we're going to start with 2010 Jessica. I was 24 years old and I just had my first son, and I absolutely hated my job. It was a miserable place to work, and I needed to be home. Like, I need to be home with my kid, because my job is miserable and it's not worth it and all the things. So I went home, and we honestly could not afford for me to quit my job. So I really needed to find a way quickly to make money in some way to at least help put groceries on the table, and, so we weren't eating crackers every day for lunch, although we did that, but not every day. So I leaned on the skills I already had, and I started a graphic design company right when I quit my corporate job, and basically did graphic design services for anybody who would come to me, and it was mostly local. So business cards, I designed a few like book covers and billboards and like invitations to like baby showers, things like that. Basically just a catch-all graphic designer, and I mostly focus locally. And then I taught myself web design during this time too, because at that point I wanted to start being a blogger, but I wanted a pretty blog. And so I taught myself how to design WordPress sites, and I started offering that as a service. And really, for the first 5 years of my entrepreneurship journey, I was a graphic and web designer. And while I didn't make a ton of money, it at least helped with things along the way. And by the way, in that time period, I also lost a bunch of weight and got like super fit and got certified to be a personal trainer and did that for a while. And I had an online like digital scrapbooking store. So all of this was like all in the same time. And then in 2015, I increased my prices. I started making way more money from web design. I was much more public. A lot more people knew who I was. And then I started a podcast, started incorporating digital products and passive income and affiliates. And in 2016, I started this YouTube channel and really switched to being an education-based business where I teach free content and make money through affiliates and sponsorships and, YouTube AdSense and whatever. And then also teach online courses and digital products and that kind of thing. And during that time period, I would still do services. I would still do coaching, consulting. I still do consulting to this day. And as you remember, last year, I actually started a retail store and then sold it. So I've done a lot of things in those 10 years and had a lot of like iterations in my business and a lot of ebbs and flows. And I feel like each level of business, each thing I did taught me a different lesson. But hopefully the ones I've compiled here are relevant regardless of where you are in this journey and regardless of what type of business you run. So we're just going to get started. I have 8 lessons I want to talk about, unless I think of another one while I'm talking, which is a very good possibility, but 8 so far. And like I said, the last 2 are probably the most groundbreaking and the most life-changing lessons I can give you. Number 1, and oh my gosh, if this isn't something that I think everybody needs to hear, and that is that you should not hate your competition. Your competition are the only people out there who understand what you're going through. They're the only people out there who have a business like yours. They're the people who you can collaborate with. They're your friends. We shouldn't hate our competition. Coming from a small town, this is something that I have seen way too much of. And even to this day, even though I literally don't do business in my town, like it's not like I have a location specific business, I still have people who see me as their competition and stop speaking to me or just are mean to me or whatever. And it has definitely happened in the online space too. But the quicker you can learn to not hate your competition, not look at them as if they're bad because they do what you do, or not look at them like they're better than you and you're going to compare yourself to them the whole time, the better off you'll be. You can collaborate with them. You can be friends with them. There's no reason that you have to hate people who do what you do. There are a lot of people in this world. There are a lot of people. I promise. You can't take care of all of them anyway, okay? So don't hate your competition. All right, I want you to lean in real close for this one. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Diversify your income. I feel like COVID might have given most people this lesson if you were running a business like in the heart of it. But if your entire livelihood relies on one stream of income, one type of income, one type of business, then if something happens and shuts it down, you are screwed, blued, and tattooed. I don't even know what that means. Like, where did that saying come from? Screwed, blued, and tattooed? Do people outside of the South say that? I don't know. What does blued mean? Screwed, blued, and I don't know, but we're going with it, okay?
Okay, editing Jessica here, and as I was editing this, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should look up what screwed, blued, and tattooed means. And it has quite the provocative origin story, okay? So I'm going to read this to you. In World War II, this saying came to be, and it says, in the Pacific Fleet, if you were in the Navy, the phrase meant that you had landed in a foreign port and had done everything of consequence in that port, meaning you had been screwed in its literal sense, okay? Blued had a tailor make you a couple sets of dress blue uniforms, and tattooed because people in the Navy like tattoos. So it's got quite the tardy history.
COVID is just one example, but there are so many reasons to diversify your income. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket because when that basket falls, you are done. Okay, so diversify your income. All right, number 3. This one's a fun one, and that is to follow your curiosity and your creativity. You do not have to fit in a box. Just because someone over here is doing what you want to do in some way and they're doing it a certain way, it does not mean you have to do it that certain way. Just because so-and-so is doing something and they fit in a box that you would see as like the normal box, you do not have to fit in that box. If you want to be an educational YouTuber and all of the people you're seeing are all they're doing is doing search-driven content and that's all they're caring about, and you are like, I really want to do something different, go outside of the box. Getting outside of the lines, coloring outside of the border is okay. Follow your curiosity. Follow things you're interested in. It will always pay off, and it will bring you to a point where you really have done what you need to do to figure out what you truly want to do in this life, and it will help you stand out from the crowd because you chose to step outside the box that everybody else fits in. Y'all, I have a story to go along with this next one, okay? And that is to shift when you need to shift. If you have been around for any amount of time in the last 6 years, you know that I will absolutely shift my business shift my business model, shift things when I feel like they are not working or no longer serving myself or my customers. And it has never bit me in the butt. It has always been a good idea. Because if you stay on a path just for the pure purpose of being afraid of what it'll look like if you shift off that path, you're going to be miserable and you're not going to be able to serve people in the way you need to serve them. A few years ago, speaking of your competition hating you sometimes, I had someone like maliciously try and hurt me by saying that I shifted my business too much, that by saying that everybody knew that I'd be on to something else in the next 5 minutes or whatever the scenario was. This person said this to hurt me, but honestly, I was like, yeah, cool. Like I did that. Like of course I did. I'm not going to stay in something just because that's what society says I have to do. The whole point here in my brand is to help you be a rebel and go off that normal path. Okay. So let me also say here that like as a sub lesson under this lesson, that if you're constantly bouncing around like a turd in a dishpan, Southern saying number 2, if you're constantly bouncing around to idea, to idea, to idea, to idea, then you will not go anywhere because you'll be bouncing so much that you can never get on a straight path. So there is a fine balance between shifting when you feel like you need to shift and taking care of yourself and your business and your people, and shifting just because you get bored. There's a big difference in those two things, and you really need to make sure your shifts are calculated, but also you need to not be afraid to do that. I personally have never shifted just because I want to. I have always shifted because my audience needs me to, because you guys want me to. So when I first started here on YouTube, I was really teaching like tech and systems for entrepreneurs. So it was a lot of like how-to tutorials and things like that. And then as I started growing my channel, I had more and more people come to me and be like, how did you grow your YouTube channel? Oh my gosh, how has that impacted your business? I would love to do this. How do you do that? And so I started teaching more YouTube strategies. These are not things where I just picked up the entire business and dropped it and broke it and started a new one. This was literally just me shifting lanes as my audience needed me to. And I would highly recommend that you do that, but stay away from shifting just because you get bored and just because you want to. All right, we're getting to like the real good tips, the real good ones, okay? Number 5, focus on money-making tasks first, always. Now, what do I mean by this? We can get so distracted, like insanely distracted by all the things that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be on Instagram. We're supposed to do reels. We're supposed to do shorts. We're supposed to be on YouTube. We're supposed to run Facebook ads. We're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do that. But like all of those things are probably not a direct money-making task, especially in the beginning. If you post on Instagram, does it inherently make you money? Probably not. If you want to start a YouTube channel, it might make you money in the future, but right now it doesn't. And if you are looking at structuring your week, or you are getting frustrated because maybe you feel like you're doing lots of work, but you're not making the money that you think you should be, this is probably why. You're not focusing on money-making tasks first. Do you know how much I hate the word tasks, by the way? Like, because it feels like you're saying it wrong, but you're not. It's just like masks. Like, I'm not saying it wrong because I would say masks, tasks. Anyway, focus on things that make you money. Set a number goal. Set a goal that you need to hit every single month. Like, I need to make $2,000 a month. And before you're allowed to focus on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook ads or this or that or the other, you have to do the things that are going to get you to that $2,000 a month. And for most people in the beginning, it's doing a service. So going out and getting more clients, going out and collecting invoices, that kind of thing. But always try and focus on money-making tasks first. They're way more important in the beginning than trying to do things that might make you money later, but in the moment don't. All right, like I said, the last 2 are literally mind-blowing. So before we get to those, number 6 is to have systems to make your business as automated as you possibly can. The more automated your business is, the more hands off you can be to focus on other things, the more you can be involved in the actual things you need to be involved in and not in the nitty gritty, the easier it's going to be to hire employees and contractors and people to help you, and the less you're going to lose your freaking mind. An example here, I have always, well, since like 2015, 2016, had pretty solid systems in this business. Like I use ClickUp to organize everything. My whole team works under there. We use Zapier and ConvertKit, and we make sure things happen on automation, and like booking calls. Like if someone needs to book a call with me, we have all of that automated. And all of that's been pretty set for several years. And I will say, hands down, it was life-changing when I decided that those were things I needed to focus on to make the business run better. But if you'll remember, I started a retail store last year because I had rented a commercial building in the downtown area of my like touristy town. And I'd rented it as a YouTube studio and a podcasting studio, but it was so freaking loud that it was very, very hard for me to get anything done there. And soundproofing it and getting everything done for it just wasn't working. It was right on the street. It was old. The windows were old, that kind of thing. And I saw having the lease on this building as a missed opportunity since it was in this downtown shoppable area in my town. So I flipped my studio into a retail store. And that retail store was a vendor model. So everything in the whole store, every section of the store, every product that was in the store was in there from a vendor. So these other businesses, these, handmade businesses, these people who were retailing things, they would pay for space in the store and they would have a designated space. And in that designated space, they would display their things and they would sell them. Okay. Well, of course, I had never done this before. And there are a few other stores in my area that do something like this. And so I started kind of asking around and trying to figure out in what way they did all of these things. So how did they keep up with which vendor made which sale? Or how did they pay out their vendors at the end of the month? Like all of these things that to me, I didn't quite understand what was going on. And all of them, literally all of them, were doing everything on that side of the business manually. Let me explain. So like, let's say I was going to sell this loopy phone case, okay? And it was going to be in my store. It would have a tag on it that would say my booth name or my booth number, because vendor space, right? My booth name or my booth number and how much it was. All of these other stores were, would have the customer come up to the register and, say, I want to buy this. And they would take off the sticker or the tag or whatever. They would check them out for it, send them on their way. And then at the end of the month, they would divvy out all of these tags to total what each vendor made. So not only was it super manual in the checkout process, like, okay, I have to take off the tag and put it somewhere, but also at the end of the month when they had to pay out their vendors, they were literally having to sit down and dig through all of these tags and with a calculator, total up all of the sales that each vendor made and then total up what their percentages were and then, pay them their money. Because the vendors essentially paid us at the store a certain percentage of their sales. So we kept back some and then gave them the rest, right? So I started hearing this and I was like, absolutely freaking not. Absolutely not. I will not do it. That is going to take so much more time than I would like to put into it. And there's so much risk involved with like losing a sticker or losing a tag or whatever, and I'm not going to do this. So I spent a bit more money up front to have a checkout system that allowed me to put each vendor in the checkout system, and it would keep up with all of this for me. So if somebody came to the checkout and they had the sticker on the item, and let's say it was $20, we would find that vendor in the system, say, we're selling this vendor's item, it's $20, and we would bring on the next one, right? And we would do that. We would leave all the stickers on, all the tags on. Nobody at checkout was having to remember to take all of these things off. And then at the end of the month, I literally just went into a system and saw how much this vendor made, how much this vendor made, how much this vendor made, and that was it. Not only that, but because we did have to keep out their booth fee and the commission that the store kept, instead of figuring that out every single month and pulling out the calculator and getting nitty gritty with it, we made a spreadsheet that, yeah, sure, it took us a little bit at the beginning to make, but now every single month, all we had to do was pull up the checkout system and see what this vendor made, plug that number into the spreadsheet, and automatically it would tell us exactly how much we owed them back. And there was no like, okay, so blah, 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 da, 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 here's how much we owe you. And I will tell you that as the owner of the store, it saved me so much headache. But that's just one example. I mean, not having a system in place in somewhere that in your business that is literally bogging down the process, that is a bottleneck, will be a really big deal as you continue to grow. So put systems in place as quickly as you can and get things as automated as you possibly can in your business to save your sanity and your time. All right, I told you the last two were like the most important, and we have landed. We are landing this plane, okay? So to explain number 7, I'm going to pull out a quote by Will Smith. Yes, the Will Smith, okay? And I am probably going to paraphrase it rather than directly quote it, but just hang with me, okay? He said something to the effect of, don't have a plan B because it will always distract you from plan A. And yes, like all the crazy hands. Don't have a million plans in the air and just abandon one plan when it gets a little hard or it's not growing as fast as you want it to, and just pick up another one. Because remember back when I said in number 4 to shift when you need to shift but not be a turd in a dishpan? This is on that same note. If you set your sights on something, if you set your goals and you start something, stick with it. Don't have this like plan B sitting in the waiting area, because odds are you'll give up way too quickly. So an example of what I mean by this is if you are someone who's in a corporate job still, but you're running a side hustle and you're like, okay, I want to make $3,000 a month from my side hustle that will allow me to quit my job. If you get comfortable in saying that you really want to do that, but like you're making good money at your job, you'll never actually push forward on that dream. You'll never actually hit those goals. If you have a goal of, eventually I want to own a retail store, but right now I'm going to do web design as a service to help me save up money to do that, right? That's your plan A. Right now I'm doing this. I'm going to do it for 3 years, and then I'm going to gradually dip money to start this thing I want to start in the future. That's not what I mean by plan A and B. That is a full plan. That is your plan. If that's your plan, then in the middle of doing your web design company, if you go over here and start buying retail products and like randomly selling them at places or reselling them onto Facebook Marketplace, it's going to distract you from the goal at hand, and it's going to take you away from your web design business, and you're not going to have the money to put in to be able to open that retail store. So find and develop a plan and find a way to not get distracted from it. I have found, and it's because I'm this way, I am super multi-passionate. I could name off 20 things right now that I would absolutely love to do. 20 different types of businesses, 20 different things I would like to sell. Like I could name all the things off. And I have found the easiest way for me to not get distracted is not to try and like not allow myself to have those ideas, but rather when I have those ideas, I put them somewhere and put them away. So for me, I call this my idea notebook. So I have this notebook where I can write down my ideas. And if I have this idea I can't stop thinking about, I will open up the notebook, I'll write it down, and I'll give myself 15 minutes to think about it. 15 minutes to plan out what it would look like, what I'm thinking about, like all the things that are on my mind. And then I close up that idea notebook and I put it away. Because odds are I never actually do end up wanting to do that. I just can't have it sitting in my head as a distraction. So in the words of Will Smith, or at least in the paraphrased words of Will Smith, don't have a plan B. It will distract you from plan A. This last one is this is it, okay? This is the lesson. I would probably, if I had to scrap all of the lessons I just gave you and just give you one, this would be it, okay? And that is to treat your business like a business, not a hobby. Hands down, that would be the advice. And I have done this in my business life, absolutely. And I saw a massive change when I started treating it like a business, in my income, in my authority, and in the way other people talked about my business too. So story time. Back years ago when I was doing web design, and someone would talk to me about it, I would generally downplay it. Like, I'm just doing a little web design. Yeah, I design blogs sometimes for people, or like whatever, right? That was how I talked about my business. It's like, yeah, it's good. I just do it on the side while I'm home with the kids. Like, I didn't ever give my business any credit at all. I used the word just a lot, and it was just a little business. It was just something to do whatever with. And then I had someone contact me to possibly redesign their website, and I was very capable of doing this. It was a larger company's website, blah, 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 here locally. And in the process of them contacting me, someone else that I knew, or we knew mutually, told them that I couldn't do it because I just designed little blogs. And it literally felt like somebody had just like stabbed me in the stomach. Because while I was irritated that this person was just like, Jessica can't design that for you. She just designs little blogs. I had said that myself. Like, I'm sure when I had seen this person and they asked me what I was doing, I probably was like, yeah, I just do some blogs here and there. Like, I probably had done that to myself. But as soon as I started treating it like a business, I raised my prices. I spoke with confidence. I went into meetings knowing what I was talking about. I really exuded the fact that this was a true, legit business. I used contracts because, y'all, I didn't have contracts for the first several years. Once I started doing all of that and treating it like a business, my mindset changed. I was able to make way more money because I took it serious. I knew what I had was valuable. I knew how to charge for it, all the things. And when I would speak about my business, people were hearing my confidence. So when they would turn around and speak about my business, they were just repeating what I told them. So people will take you way more seriously, and you'll take yourself way more seriously if you will treat your business like a business, not like a hobby. Don't just it. Just. Don't use the word just. It's not just anything. It's not just a little Etsy shop. It's not just a little business you do on the side. It's not just a little business that helps you while you stay home with your kids. It's not just a little YouTube channel, okay? It is a business, and you need to claim it that way and stake your claim in what you're good at and what you're trying to do for other people to take you seriously. Now, I would bet you money that I have probably 79 other lessons that I have learned in my 10 years of entrepreneurship, but I feel like we really have a solid list here of the things that are insanely important. So whether you're just getting started as an entrepreneur, you're side hustling, or you wish you were side hustling, or you're pretty far into the entrepreneurship game and you're always wanting to learn, hopefully these things showed you possibly where you could do better or where you could incorporate other things or whatever. Because I always like to see videos like this where people are like, wait, if I was starting over, what would I do? That's pretty well it. If I was starting over, I would not hate my competition. I would absolutely create multiple streams of income from the beginning. I would realize I didn't have to do my business just like everybody else who did the same type of business. I would shift as I needed to shift, but not too much, because I did definitely shift way too much in the beginning. I would focus on money-making tasks. Y'all, I could have saved so many hours in the beginning of my business not redesigning my own website every 2 days, because that wasn't a money-making task. I wasn't paying myself, you know? I would have systems and automation in place from the very beginning, starting with whatever that looked like for me and my business. I wouldn't have 42 plans in the air. I'd focus on one, and I would treat my business like a business and not a hobby. I'd love to hear which one of these resonates with you most, depending on where you are in business or where you're not in business or whatever, in the comments below. And if you're wanting to start a business and you haven't yet, I've got a million other videos to help you get started on the right path, to help you start a side hustle, to help you get started with digital products and affiliate marketing and online courses and all the things. So I'll make sure I link those below in the description. And until next time, bye y'all.